All right, welcome on back to the Split Screen Experience, episode 6, joined by my host,
Armin.
and I'm Andrew, and we got some we got some good topics to talk about today. We're just gonna have a little chat and be a part of your routine, and hopefully we see you again next week. Same day, same time.
Of course. And I kind of want to jump right into it. Once again, I don't really want to waste our listeners' time. But last week, one of my buddies wanted us to talk about video game like soundtracks and how good they are, how bad they can be.
Mhm.
And I just want to kind of see which ones do you think like deserve the top spot.
It's kind of hard to go into this discussion without talking about one specific franchise. At least right off the rip, it's one of the strongest nominees I think I could bring up here. Would be Halo as a whole. Even in the worst Halo game, they have great music. That's something they've always done insanely well. You have your more notable tracks like the Warhog Run, stuff like that. It is, Finish the Fight. It is legendary. The music is as important to those missions as the actual plot and, like epic set pieces that you get to achieve. It's without that music to me, Halo goes way down on my ranking. So I think they definitely deserve some praise for that.
Yeah, Halo's the one that I was thinking of the most.
Mm,
But when I think of another like strong one,
mm.
I think of Minecraft. Except for the cave noises, I think has a pretty relaxing soundtrack. You can just
I would
vibe.
agree. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say so you can vibe, mine, or build and enjoy your time on that.
Right. I'd say I would agree with that, especially if it was like the old Minecraft music. The new Minecraft music is, for me at least, distinctively not as good. It's still good, but it just doesn't compare to like when we were playing on like the Xbox 360 and One editions. That actual Minecraft music was just peak, and then they took all that out of the game because I think they got into beef with I think they got into beef with the main artist behind those tracks. I think that's why that happened.
I think you're right.
But I might be speaking out of turn on that one. I'm not entirely versed on what happened. It might have just been they wanted to change it up, and so they completely swapped out those tunes. I think even a couple of the discs changed too. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know exactly which ones, but I'm pretty sure that I've noticed new ones
Mm,
and or the originals don't sound like the true original ones.
right. Because there's one I can think of. I want to say it was the red disc or one of the red discs, if there's multiple, on the old version that was like a really like old timey, like it sounded like an old vinyl where it was like wow wow wow, like it sounded very vintage and like it sounded like it was coming out of an actual record player. And now on the new versions I can't find that disc even in like creative, so I think they just started switching them out and pretended it didn't happen.
Which I could see.
Mm,
One,
it is Mojang.
it's Mojang, the company that releases one medium-sized update a year.
Medium's generous. Like,
I was being nice.
yeah. Like we added a new wood type. Oh, does it have a new like plank pattern? No, it's the same one we've been using for the last 15 years, except this one's pink. And I'm like, okay, you should stop doing that now. like, please. Can we get an expansion on things we care about? No, no.
No, but we do have the Creation Club, their Minecraft store.
Yeah, we have the Minecraft store where everything you want to do in there, for the most part, you have to pay for, unless it's like occasionally they'll do like a free skin pack or like a free map download, but it's typically pretty minimal stuff. I don't know why Microsoft can't implement the Creation Club on other projects than Fallout 4 and Skyrim, but it'd be really nice. It'd be really cool if you could, if you could nail that one. Or if they could, maybe they could do like if you're an Ultimate Game Pass member, every month you get X amount of mine coins. That's their like their cryptocurrency that you have to use. Uh, if they gave you like 1,000 or something a month, I could see that being a nice little perk for Ultimate, but where then you'd effectively have free access to stuff. But they probably wouldn't do that.
Right. And I bought a map to like play with my friends.
Mm.
I bought the Minecraft Cops and Robbers of like the newest the newest map that I've watched back forever ago,
Right.
and I'm like, oh, this will be a ton of fun. Yeah, I no one can connect to it.
Yeah, that's the big problem. Because it's supposed to be if one person owns it, you can all play on it. That's the one saving grace of that system is it's like the like songs in Fortnite Festival where as long as one of you have it, you all have it. But yeah, I've had that connection issue too, where like one of our friends bought the like Pixelmon type world. No one else can play on it but him.
That sounds really dumb.
I think it was like $15 for that map too. Like,
Yeah, that's a pretty expensive server just to play by yourself.
right. Because like I know we kind of talked about at least briefly with like our group doing like because they came out with the D&D collaboration for Minecraft. I know we kind of briefly talked about that, and I said like if we know it works, I'll buy it because like that sounds cool. I've seen the clips of it where it's like there's actual new mobs and systems and stuff. I don't know how the combat works. I don't know if they actually tried to make it like a turn-based thing or if it's just here's a dragon, whale on it like it's the Ender Dragon. But I think we need to give that a look into because that looked pretty fun. Combine our Minecraft love and our D&D love.
I would assume it's probably not a turn-based.
I figure not to, but
I figure that'd be too much work.
I mean it'd be cool, you know.
It would be. I'm not denying that.
Because yeah, to me that like that's how you can help those experiences stand out and be worth like paying money for is if they're fundamentally changing the game like that. Versus it's like, oh, well, here's a map where it's already got roller coasters built on it, so that you don't have to do it. And it's like, okay, well, you're taking out the thing that someone might want to build, and then you're adding nothing else and charging $10 for it. Yeah, I'm trying to think back to your original question. I'm trying to think what is like a game with like a really like gutter ball soundtrack. I feel like that's a much harder question to answer.
Yeah, I'm trying hard to think of one that didn't have a good one.
Because like, I mean, you can make an argument for games that don't really do much music at all, because it does feel kind of weird in certain games where like you're just basically running around like a giant space with no sound other than like your footsteps or like a car. Um, so in that regards, you know, certain soundtracks, the lack of a soundtrack there could be a better argument than having a bad one. Like the last couple Call of Duties, I feel like they had kind of a bad soundtrack. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I haven't bought the last two, but the ones before that, the more recent ones, right before that jump, I found the soundtracks just kind of generic and you know, it's very like, yeah, this is a Call of Duty soundtrack. There's some guitar. There you go. You're done. Like, that's about it.
Right? It's not like Devil May Cry's Bury the Light
Yes.
or Metal Gear's or Revengeance, not Resurgence.
Mhm.
Recently found out that I was saying it wrong.
Yeah. You're like, it's Resurgence. Like, no, it's not. That's a real word, but the title isn't.
The main the main song for that one, yeah, that one's those are two really good individual soundtracks.
Yeah. That's one thing. Capcom typically delivers some pretty good soundtracks for at least for their non-horror titles. They typically put in some good music. Devil May Cry definitely has good music, at least in the more recent ones. I'm not really too familiar with like the old ones, but
Yeah, and then when I think of Mass Effect, I think of Three's Leaving Earth. That's a good one that tugs at your heart. So that you're
I've
seeing Earth get decimated.
I've seen some edits with that song on TikTok, and they do go pretty hard.
You have that, and then what's Mass Effect 2 at the end when you're launching the final mission and navigating through that whole cutscene. It's a pretty nice soundtrack.
Can't think of what that one sounds like.
It's like a final charge.
Uh,
Not that really describes it much, but
I mean, it gives me a general.
I don't want to say too much just in case someone hasn't yet to play it, and I'm not just spoiling.
Spoilers for the game that came out in 2009.
Yeah, yeah. But with the remaster they came out in 2021, it's opened the doors for more people to play it, and with it being on Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass.
Well, technically, it's on EA Play.
Well, whatever. EA Play is a part of Game Pass.
Correct.
And if you're like my group of friends, only one other person, or I guess two people, have played Mass Effect. Everyone else has not.
Yeah, because yeah, most people the argument is like I tried to get into one and I can't. And I can understand one has not aged gracefully, and then also two is just that much better. So it's like most people start with one, they're just like, it's just not quite hitting the beats for them. Versus like if you can just push through one and get to two and three, you'll have a good outing. And
One,
one's not bad, but basic.
I feel like the whole thing for side quests on one felt kind of repetitive because you landed on an uncharted planet, you
Mm,
explored, found a quest, did
kill
the
some
quest,
people.
you left. I feel
Yeah,
like if you just did the main campaigns, although you would miss out on a ton of stuff, I think the game's pretty fun. Beat the game pretty quick, enjoy the good guy saving the day, the bad guy losing,
bad guy gets rocked.
and then, well, technically, the hero also gets rocked, technically.
Technically,
But yeah, that's none of my Mass Effect spiel. I could talk all day about Mass Effect.
we'll do a Bioware episode one day. Don't worry.
We've already basically done that in one of the episodes where we just kind of shit on BioWare for
Oh yeah,
stopping support on Andromeda to go work on the game that we both forgot about, Anthem.
yeah. I know. We forgot about it for that episode, and then I forgot we had the conversation about it. That's how Anthem feels in my brain. It's just like it's not there, didn't happen. Like waste of time, waste of development money, talent. Like I'm sure we'll have another conversation about them come a little later this year when we get that Dreadwolf reveal, the full reveal that is. We had that teaser, but
If it plays like Inquisition, it's gonna be another banger.
yeah, I think that formula as the baseline, and then like just continuing to evolve it with the years in terms of like just smoothing some things out, adding a few little things here and there. I think that's the way you go with Dragon Age for now. Maybe in 10, 12 years time they'll find a new system that feels even better than Inquisition, and then I'll embrace that one, but that to me is the definitive way to experience a Dragon Age title.
One and two just kind of felt too linear for
Hmm.
what an RPG is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's where we throw around the term RPG a lot in times where I don't think it really should be used. Again, I've always said, as much as I love a lot of old Bethesda games, most of them don't feel very RPG like. They feel more action adventure game, and they're like, well, it's role play because you're assuming the role of this one figure. You are, Dovahkiin, that kind of deal, where it's like, okay, but then in that argument, then every Call of Duty is an RPG as well because you're playing as Price or Soap or Mason, but you don't use that term there because at the end of the day, for Skyrim, you're not changing that outcome. You could side with the Stormcloaks or Imperials, but doesn't really do much. The main thing is still Alduin.
You're still killing Alduin.
Yeah, there's no siding with him, becoming like a conduit for like the dragons or anything like that.
So going off uh, the remade comment, is there a game that you haven't seen be have a remake that you want to see?
There's a couple like well, there's a lot of games that like I know neither of us have gotten to experience because they're before our time and they have not gotten ports or remasters or whatever. So like there's a lot of things I could even say here. Like I know a lot of people say like there's this one old Resident Evil game that I never played. Technically I could go play it right now, but allegedly they are remaking it, but they haven't said that, so I'm going to treat it like it's not there. Um but allegedly Resident Evil Codename Veronica is getting a remake and I've heard nothing but good things about it, but I would like to play it with like the new systems that they've been doing, because their remakes have been real good compared to the original titles. I've had a much better time on the remakes.
Game I would like to see be remade. It was supposed to be remade a year ago.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Is Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic.
Yep, there it is.
They talked about forever that it was going to be remade. It was going to be a PS exclusive for 6 months, and then it was coming to Xbox. And I was a-okay with that. But I got to play that story again with updated graphics and maybe some gameplay overall. I would be ecstatic. And then I found out that they canceled it. And now I'm sad. And I was just going to say, I haven't stopped thinking about what could have been.
That's the weird thing though, because I've heard conflicting things back and forth about it's canceled, it's not, it's canceled, it's on hiatus, it's shelved. But like when it first came out, we were hearing that devs were sent home. So I'm assuming it is canceled, but like there's still some devs that are claiming it's not. So maybe they just like restarted development or something. I don't know why you would do that or why you would even need to when it's a remake, but
Until I see a release date for it, it's canceled in my eyes, and I will be sad about it.
or maybe we have something where like Sony had them shut it down so that way they could negotiate a new contract where it would be a full-blown PS exclusive because then technically they wouldn't have to acknowledge their original agreement. That's me being cynical. I have no way to back that up, but I'm just after what they just pulled like a couple days ago, I wouldn't put it past them. Which, for anyone who doesn't know, Sony laid off about 1,000 to 1,200 employees, and they completely shut down a studio in London. And the people that they laid off, a lot of which came from their biggest studios being Insomniac and Naughty Dog, who have basically been the only ones other than their Santa Monica studio that have made big titles for Sony. So for those to be like the prime cutting block is kind of strange.
Yeah, I would agree. Cutting support to your like best studios
Mhm.
kind of seems a step in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's you could see it's a complete antithesis, and I'm not saying one's right or wrong. For all we know, they have a good reason to do it. You know, I don't have their financials in front of me. I don't have their internal documents in front of me. I'm not going to pretend to. But it seems very interesting. You see the two different mentalities being Xbox and Sony being so polar of each other, where Xbox is doing everything in their power to try to put developers first. They reduce the cut they take from smaller devs' games. They kept it the same or increased it for larger studios, but to try to support these small indie devs and teams financially as much as they can. And then the recent announcement of 4 games coming from Xbox to PlayStation and Switch because they want those devs to be able to make more money so that they can be more successful, which helps the community as a whole, which right now, gaming, I think, while we're starting to get good games again, we're having a really interesting like back end issue with gaming in terms of like devs getting shut down, canned, projects getting, their licenses revoked and whatnot. I don't know if we're not able to be having one without the other. Maybe this is what it was like on the back end for the entire 20 or like 2000s, 2010s, where we got a lot of bangers in the 2000s, but maybe all the devs were miserable. uh, it seems to be we can't have it too good for too long on one front or the other. That's for sure.
So, kind of the last thing I want to talk about on this episode. I know
Hmm.
it's been kind of a shorter one this episode, but do you think games should still do like a digital deluxe or legendary release if all you get are like digital audiobooks and basically all the content you get is digital?
What do you let me before I answer? What do you think about it?
I think if you're gonna pay the extra money to get a deluxe or legendary edition, you might as well just buy a physical copy of it so you can get some sort of physical item to show that you that,
Right.
bought the more expensive version. Because off the rip, I'm thinking of the Halo Reach, like the whole like collectible of all of Noble Team, including six, and then Halo 3 where you got Master Chief's helmet.
So that was cool.
And then I think of more recently Spider-Man 2, and as they phrased it, you get 19 inches of Venom.
I don't know. I don't know. I think they were just going for the marketing of like people being like, "What did they say?" So they all go look for it, and they're like, "This will drive up our number."
Like if I go on the Xbox store and buy the deluxe version of Elden Ring, sure I might get the DLC that's coming out, but the only other thing I get is like their digital audiobook and I think some sketches, access to like some sketches.
Yeah, you get concept art and the digital album, which is on Spotify, by the way. So you could just pull it up. It's probably on YouTube too,
I was
so
about
it's
to
probably
say,
free.
why the hell would I pay extra for a digital audio when I have Spotify and I have YouTube?
Right. Which, if you wanted to like listen to that music and just like have it on like in the background, right, you would have to pull up Elden Ring and then go to like your bonus and like collectibles tab on your menu, and then play it from there. So it's all these steps when you can just pull up Spotify and I can hit play versus well, I gotta make sure I have my Elden Ring in and updated and all that. Yeah, I agree for the most part. These collector's edition, well, like true like deluxe editions, where you're getting like the physical stuff. Like I have the Juggernog fridge from BO3, stuff like that. Like I was like, I have to have that. So like if it's a game that's important to you, I definitely say go and buy the collector's edition. You're gonna have a piece of memorabilia that's gonna at least, even if it doesn't function at a certain point, if it's like I know like the BO4 did like a mystery box that a lot of them didn't work after like 3 months. It's still a piece of memory of I remember when I got that game. I remember playing. It reminds you of all those times you had on it. And these digital games, the only time I felt like it was okay to spend more than the base price for a game, you need to get for a digital one, you need to get the like season pass with it. Because if they're offering it as a bundle, like COD used to do the digital deluxe edition, where for $100 you got the game and the DLC pass, and so versus if you bought those two things separately, that'd be $120. So you save $20 to buy it all up front. So for those handful of years where we were actually getting pretty good or good Call of Duties again, I was just buying the $100 one because I knew it saved me $20. But I would never go and buy like the $130 edition where it's like, oh, but you'll get a digital this and digital that. It's like I don't really care about like skins and all that. I just want content. And if it's not offering extra content, that's not worth the price.
Right, but yeah, unfortunately, I think we're seeing an age where physical copies of games are being sold less and less. And as much as I like physical copies, digital copies have been nice. It's like just buying the base game, because if you are on Xbox game sharing with someone, they also get access to that game. So you at least have someone else to play with.
That's been my big reason for a long time. Like, we're seeing a lot more like consistent deals on Xbox stuff where like, or like console platform stores, whatever. You're seeing, you can get a game, they'll run a deal where like a newer game is 30% off. And it's like, well, why wouldn't I buy it here when at Walmart or whatever, it's still full price? So like they kind of get you on that end, or even if it's not, then my perceived extra value in that if I buy something and I'm game sharing with whoever, they also get that game. And yeah, like you said, you get the two players for a multiplayer game, or I feel like I'm giving someone a little bit of an extra treat if I buy a single player game, they can go play that game. It's two people for the price of one. You're basically getting a 50% discount, buy one get one free, however you want to look at it. And yeah, they kind of have pushed us towards digital with those features, which I think might be more of an Xbox thing. I'm pretty sure on Sony you can't do like a game share system. I could be wrong. I know like PS4 launch, that was like a big ordeal because they made that video to like make fun of them about how to share games.
I'm not too sure. Be sure to ask our PlayStation expert, and we can rectify the information for next week.
Correct. Unfortunately, yeah, he can't be here because he is currently dying. Not actually, but feels like he is. So,
Yeah, we would have liked to have him on today. It would have been a great day to have him on.
right,
But unfortunately, sickness does play an effect.
correct.
We don't want him to have to feel like he needs to sit there and try to hold in his sickness.
And I don't want to catch something through the airwaves.
Yeah, yeah. Especially with how sick everyone's getting with
Oh
the
yeah.
changing of the seasons.
Yeah, we didn't see it really bad for the most part. I feel like in winter, where typically everything spikes really high, it's like, oh, coming out of winter into spring, people are just all getting sick all of a sudden.
I think that plays a big effect that didn't really have much of a winter. I know we kind of had like that 1 to 2 weeks in January, but it's been a pretty mild winter so far.
Yeah, it wasn't quite cold enough, I guess, to drive people inside all the time like it normally does. Because yeah, you get all stuck up in the same house, breathing the same, returned air. You're not really opening up too much, so just stale everything. Stale air and sickness. What a combination.
Right. Enough about sickness. Let's go back to games. Kind of going off the remake part of that again. Is there like a
Mm.
franchise that you want to see that hasn't gotten a game in a while?
Let's see. Devil May Cry has been out of new games for a while. Oh no, I got my answer. I want a new Ninja Gaiden game really badly. I want a good modern Ninja Gaiden because they had some heat there for a while. The last one's not great, but it's they were trying something different. It just didn't work out, which unfortunately, definitely during that era, risk taking for games was not a good idea. It's still it is still a risk now. Obviously, again, you're taking a risk, but they were in an area where their games didn't sell enough units to where they could confidently do whatever they wanted. Uh, but I feel like now if they came in with some modern storytelling ideas and gameplay elements, Ninja Gaiden would be a really fun series to see come back.
Right. I think my game, or at least a sequel, I would say Rise Son of Rome.
Ooh, yeah.
Like the first
Underrated.
game we got for the Xbox One was great for its time. I will say. I love the game. And when me and my buddy feel like being gladiators and killing some barbarians, we will hop on the Rise Son of Rome multiplayer and just destroy every barbarian we've come across.
Yeah, it's a game that should have gotten at least a little, like at least a sequel, like just at least one. But they were just like, you know what, one, and then I guess it didn't sell.
Yeah, I don't know why Rise didn't get a sequel.
I'm pulling up their numbers real quick. It was critically bombed by a couple outlets for being repetitive and simple gameplay. According to some people, that might be part of the reasoning why they weren't looking to do a sequel. And then I'm looking for their sales number. It sold 1.3 million units. So let's see what's their budget then. It had a budget of I can't find their budget actually. Their cinematic budget was $5 million alone. So I'm guessing that the main budget was fairly high, at least for that era of gaming budgeting. It was probably a pretty decently high budget game.
So there probably just wasn't enough return
Yeah.
for them to say, "Oh, let's do a second game."
Which, like, I wish companies, this isn't like the most business savvy answer here or response, but like, if you make a game and it almost gets you back what you put in or get you close to that, clearly you almost have something. You just need to rework some things. Like, if you were like, okay, let's go back, let's overhaul some of the gameplay elements and make another story. Because I think most people would probably agree the story part wasn't like a problem. Like, the overall narrative was fine. Just, do another one, add a little bit more complexity to it because you've already done the baseline work for the game. Making a sequel shouldn't be too hard, meaning your costs should be relatively lower. Who knows? Because I don't even know what's that studio been up to. What studio is that exactly?
When I looked on Xbox, it just says Xbox Game Studio.
Oh, so it's Microsoft. Okay, so we. Oh no, it was made by Crytek. We published it. That's right. Because they're the ones who made Hunt and Crisis, the series that they never get it right.
There was a time where I would play Crisis 2 multiplayer. I played that a lot.
The multiplayer was fun, I will say. It was just an issue of like the story and like the graphics on console never looked good because they were always trying to push it to be way ahead of the curve on like fidelity and whatnot. And so for the 360 and PS3, where the colors those machines could run were various shades of green and brown, you know, maybe some red, but like they were pretty devoid of like color range for the most part. Uh, they didn't really handle those kinds of graphical inputs very well, so I kind of don't have the best experience with them. And then I remember the third one had like a kind of stupid story. Yeah, they're always like, yeah, no, don't worry, Crisis is still on top. And I know about 5 people who've played one.
Too crazy about the game, although I did have fun with the multiplayer. I never really get into the campaign.
But you did like, I know you put a decent amount of time into Hunt, which they also made.
Yeah, Hunt's a weird game. I like it, but as most PvP shooters, really luck based.
I wish I could say what my thoughts are on that game, but you know how my thoughts go after you sucker me into buying it.
You paid like $10 for it. It was
I
on.
know. I was like, it's on sale, and I'm like, is it fun? You're like, it's fun. I watched you play it for 45 minutes, and I went, okay, this looks pretty cool. I'm gonna buy it. I bought it. We played one game, and then no one ever played it again.
Well, that's because I'm like, hey, let's play this game, and no one else has it installed.
Maybe we'll get a couple people in the next couple weeks and run some of that.
Would be nice. But I think on that note, we are going to end it.
Yep.
We've had episode 6 will be up this Saturday, March 2nd. I hope you've enjoyed all the previous episodes that we have launched so far, and I hope you'll continue listening in on the next, and the next, and the next.
All of the next.
All of the next. But as always, I'm your host, Harmon, joined alongside
Andrew.
We'll see you next time.
See you, everybody.